Hello YouTube and welcome to episode 12 of A Railway Empire. This is Intro Aether. So at the end of the last episode we came excruciatingly close to completing our task of achieving an £800,000 profit in 1 quarter. Now I did look back at that and I'm sure it said above 800,000. Quite where this number of 782,000 come from, I guess we'll never know unless there's somebody out there smarter than me that can figure that out. Just having a little look at this bit here, it looks quite nice I think. And as I say, when we have another line here it's going to start bridging over these runoffs. That should look quite nice. Now we obviously have just started a new month, so we've got some more science points in, so we can go ahead now and buy our standardized components. Actually, before I do that, we'll just have a look. Engine shed. If we wanted to replace everything at the moment, it's going to cost 1.1 million. The value in buying this is... now it only costs us virtually 600,000, so it's almost half price. There was another piece of research here. Where was it? Maybe it was on this other page. Yeah, this one. When selling used locomotives, depreciation is reduced by 25%. So presumably that would make the upgrade even less. Because I guess part of the upgrade is you sell your old trains and replace them with new ones. It must be like that, because otherwise that 30% wouldn't produce a figure closer to half, you know, closer to 50%. So, let's have a look at how many points that is. Right, so it's at least 100. And just looking at the time date, we've got 3 more quarters to try and get to 800,000. We should be fine, I think. We do have a bit of tidying up to do on this line. Like, we really need to start. We should double track this station, or double platform this station, because we do have quite a few trains running between Buffalo and Syracuse. If I click on this station over here, you can see that we've got now 5 freight trains. Although actually 3 of them are only 3 of those are turning around here, so maybe there's no need to do that quite yet. We've got some staff members, an engineer, and a security guard. So let's place them. I would imagine this wood delivery here is going to be making some money, so we'll put a bonus on that one. And with the cattle here, we will just put this additional engineer to make one of them trains a little less likely to break down. Although maybe we won't do that. We've only just bought those trains, so they're less likely to break down. We'll put this instead on one of our original cattle trains. These guys are virtually ran into the ground now. We'll have a look. Yeah, see the condition is we've nearly got no bar left at all. So these are going to be wanting to break down all of the time. And of course that's why our profits haven't grown at sort of such a steady rate. Let's have a quick look in the company page actually. We're up to 4 million. And Smythe's on 2.3, so we're still doing okay. Ah, we have a bond. That's handy. So we can take that on, and then we can expand 680 grand's worth. Right, so I'm going to throw this into a time lapse now, tidy up some of the track, and then we'll see what we've done after that. Okay, so we've decided to add a station here for the veg and a station for the fruit, as well as placing a station in Toledo. On the task list we had an optional task down here, which is to establish an express connection between Toledo and New York. Now obviously to do that we are going to need a station in Toledo, and it did cross my mind that if the orange player down here, who is this? Is that the general, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, the Jonathan Johnson, the general, if he was to put a station in Toledo, and he could very well do that, Toledo is the next village along from Indianapolis that he's in, then obviously we wouldn't be able to do that task. So I've placed a station there. We haven't laid the track to it yet. We're not going to worry about that for the time being, but it did open up the opportunity to collect the veg here and the apple, and we can also hook in another corn train here, but we're not really going to need that for the time being. Our corn up here is serving buffalo fine, but the thing is we're trying to grow buffalo to 70,000. Once we reach 45,000 citizens we're going to want vegetables, and then at 50,000 we're going to want fruit. So if we can get these two things definitely in, we should be fine to get all the way up to sort of 70,000 like we need to. We don't actually need them items for the time being though, so that's kind of dead money, but at least it's done now. I think we can just run the game now. The rest we're just going to save up, and then we're going to buy a whole new fleet of trains. So we've got some wheat being delivered.
You should keep your trains in better condition.
So let's have a look here now. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 items required. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in stock. So we should be seeing some movement with our growth soon. See, our fulfillment of demand is rising. We will be growing very soon. There we go. And this is good because we don't even actually have any beer here yet. So certainly by the time we get the beer into that buffalo town, we're going to be able to add these lines in as and when. In actual fact, I can kind of set them up now, and then they'll leave the second the town needs them. And that'll save me having to worry about or remember to do that. This train will just sit here saying no freight available until the town demands this particular goods. So we can get a locomotive on there. I'm just buying these up just for the time being, although that does seem silly because we're going to end up replacing them. Otherwise you have to go into the train list and manually do it. I'm not going to add the next one. That's a complete and utter waste of money what I've just done there, so don't do that at home. Unless you want to waste your money. I didn't fully double track this piece neither. I've just put one little passing place in here, and then obviously we have one near the station here. So at least these trains can kind of move halfway along their journey if they're conflicting with one coming the other way. We've up to 386,000, and we need about 600 grand. Actually, what I can do here is we can just replace the oldest trains. We can do that right away. So that's done. So now, like our cattle trains down here that were basically dead on their feet, yeah, they're now nice new trains. That's going to clear up this part of the track and help our profits. I'm certain this 800,000 will be done next quarter. So what we can do is now we can wait by going into this engine shed. We can just occasionally check now for any trains that are older than 2 years. Although it's only 170,000 now to replace the ones that are older than 1 year, so it looks like we'll be able to do that within a week or two. Buffalo is still growing, we're up to 43,000, so we're going to be needing those veg very soon. So this guy up here that's loading will soon start dropping those veg off into Buffalo. Right, just a few more. Right, so we've got all of our trains sorted now. I mean, ideally now would be the time to start investing in maintenance sheds. So we'd have 1, 2, 3. Certainly for this part of the line we could do these 3 rural stations, so that's 240,000. And then for the trains that are travelling along the main track, I wouldn't want to have a maintenance shed actually in the town. We'd maybe put it over here on Manhattan or something, and then they could just nip in and out as they're leaving that station, get their repairs done, and then hook up for the main line. Obviously when they've done that journey into the warehouse or whatever station I use, they're not going to be taking any passengers. It might even be best to use like a small station. You can't place them anywhere willy-nilly like you can a warehouse. Like I can place a warehouse pretty much wherever I want. You know, an actual station needs to be near a resource. But we do have a veg resource here, so we could always place a station here and then just tell our trains not to actually load any veg when they get there. And that way we could convert this station into a maintenance shed. We will do that soon, but I just want to make sure we get this 800,000 in first, so we're going to carry on expanding as and when. Right, as we're not going this route no more for the 25%, as we've just upgraded our trains, we can look for other things. So this reduces maintenance requirements, so that perfectly supplements our new trains. We'll go with that straight away. Yep. Our science will be coming in thick and fast now, remember, because we do have as much of that per week as we can get, or per month. So are we up to 45,000? Okay, so we've just dropped below the 60%. Corn is needed. Beer is still needed. Let's have a look up here in Syracuse, what is going on with the beer production. Right, so let's get more wheat into Syracuse. I mean, we've got 2. Let's clone this guy again, so we've got 3. And Buffalo was needing corn, so we'll just double that up as well. It's only costing 21,000 now to put a Philadelphia out. That's handy. Alright, the money really is coming in quickly now. This is a bit better. It probably increases the gameplay speed a bit, which should be good. New York is growing again, so we're up to 82,000, and we can start placing attractions and that sort of stuff. Obviously we could have done that a while ago. We're not going to worry about that for the time being. Once we've got the majority of our tasks done, we will come back to New York and we'll make it our mecca and try to grow it as much as we can. For the time being though, we've got to concentrate on Buffalo, and we're up to 749 on our passengers, so we're going to do that in time. Not the best time, but as I say, I think I've made a mistake at the beginning here by not expanding straight to Buffalo. You certainly have enough money at the beginning to go straight to Buffalo, and then you could load your first train up to go to Buffalo from New York as a passenger train, and you'd have an awful lot of passengers make that journey. So you might even get like 200 or 300 people within the first few days of the game, and then that, of course, that eases the pressure on getting some of these other things done so quickly to try and get a perfect time score. So that was maintenance and passengers. Let's have a look at some of our passenger trains. I'm not going to put him on here actually, because this is actually, although it's labelled as a passenger train, as a mixed train, if we have a look at his journey, he is actually going to be carrying freight as well as mail between Buffalo and Syracuse, and then Syracuse to New York. So we'll not put him on there. This one is a more universal line for that type of staff member, so we'll get him on there. And whilst we're here, we might as well just put this guy on there as well. He reduces the likelihood of a breakdown. So we're getting a build-up of lumber here now. Lumber is required by a city once it reaches 60,000. How big is Syracuse now? Right, well, Syracuse is up to 69,000, so that's demanding lumber. And that's no doubt going to be getting plenty of it because of all our passenger trains making their way back from Buffalo to New York. Albany, once again, 61,000, so Albany will be requiring lumber now. So our trains that skip Syracuse and go from Buffalo to Albany are going to start exporting the lumber into Albany. New York is also going to be requiring lumber. So what I'm going to do is we're going to send out a couple of trains here, and they're just going to go from New York to Buffalo, taking the passengers to start with, and then they're just going to come all the way back to New York. We're going to skip these other towns, and that way it'll encourage lumber from Buffalo to come back to New York. So we'll send a couple of trains out to do this journey. So we want a manual mode, passengers from New York. I mean, it's possible we've already got enough passengers on the line already heading to Buffalo that this task is effectively completed, but 2 more isn't going to hurt. So we're going to leave from platform 4. We want 8 carriages worth. When we get to Buffalo, I want to prioritise lumber. That's the one thing that New York needs that Buffalo can offer. Putting that note there just makes it easier. The game flow gets a little disrupted when I'm making these videos. I find normally if I play the game I can kind of remember what I've done more. It seems to be a little bit more difficult to flow and to remember everything you've done when you're creating these videos, but that is something hopefully that I'll get better at. So we can get this going again, and I'm just going to clone that train that we've just made. So we've got 2 of them doing that journey. That should provide enough lumber within the journey time, I think. I know they're not very well spaced out, but that is what it is for the time being. So this guy here, we want to clone him. And now let's have a look at Buffalo and see if we can encourage the growth again. So we're lacking the corn. We've just doubled our corn train. We've added another train taking wheat into Syracuse, so hopefully the Syracuse beer production will increase. We will add another train just running between Buffalo and Syracuse, one of these freight trains, though there's actually no need. Look, these guys aren't doing particularly well. In actual fact, this one is now taking lumber to Syracuse. It'll be interesting to see what he picks up, so let's just watch him for a moment. Okay, we've got one ahead of him. He's dropping off meat. Let's look at this guy instead. And now he's going to New York, or Albany. Right, so it's this one. Okay, so he's coming back with absolutely skiddly squat. Nothing. That is not what we wanted, but at least he's gotten out of the way of the station. So our next train that's carrying virtually nothing can dock.
Was that your wheel that just rolled towards me?
Sometimes you just got to laugh, eh? I think that's it for this episode. I'll have a look and see what we're going to be doing for the next episode. Try and figure out what's best to, what direction we're going to go in. Alright, thanks for watching.